You're Julian on a brand note and a review of Arthur Russell's Picture of a Bunny Rabbit, and I'm very excited because this is the last of a batch of like 8 or 9 albums that I got in one go, and just piling on the reviews of, so at least I can sort of draw a line under it. Same with a lot of movies as well. Going to see Oppenheimer this afternoon, 70mm. Very excited. He's an artist that came to New York in the late 70s and became associated with the sort of twin pillars of music in the city, of the underground club music scene and also the very avant-garde music scene, sort of like John Cale, obscure versions of classical music and the like, and sort of progressive art house music, but also club disco music. Dinosaur, the track from Dinosaur, is it Kiss Me? Goes on for about 12 minutes as one of them, and didn't really release much in the way of studio albums. Collaborated with and produced loads of people, and died quite young, 40 years old in 92 from AIDS, and has subsequently been lionized as this hugely important figure in the underground club and avant-garde music scenes, and has become known pretty much through collections. And this latest one, Picture of a Bunny Rabbit, it's an archival release, contained recordings that were made for World of Echo, and it's got huge acclaim from critics. I think World of Echo was his only studio album, was it? Oh, the second studio album. There you go. This is one of the cleanest examples of Emperor's New Clothes you can get in music. The acclaim for this album is frankly ludicrous, and I don't know that it should have been released. It's like going through somebody, a dead author's bedroom, and they've written scraps down on pieces of paper, and you've released them as a book. It's not a book, and it's not an album. There are moments on this album that are interesting, but there are also moments on this album that just sound like somebody sort of lazily tapping away at a few strings on the instrument whilst sort of trying to thread together a melody for a song which may be fully written at some point in the future. Reminded me a bit of the last Grouper album, which I felt a lot the same, that it was just like sketches. There was nothing really of substance there. I thought some of the tracks, like the title track Picture of a Bunny Rabbit, were really interesting. That one had a lot more substance. It was very avant-garde, very striking use of strings, and over its 8-minute duration went off on musical journeys. It sounded full, but a lot of them are really faint. I just wonder how he would feel about them being released. I mean, do you just release everything by somebody that you've got on tape somewhere? Or do you, admit that they spent time in the studio developing ideas and not all of those developments themselves were worthy of release? Would they be happy themselves knowing that this music was out there? There isn't much on here that I would say was even worthy of a 2-minute runtime. It really is very faint for the majority of its duration. And I do feel like the acclaim here is a lot of critics looking at him being gay and dying of AIDS and underground and having the cachet that he has critically, don't understand this album. And I have no problem greeting a hugely acclaimed artist and saying I think this isn't very good. Same as I don't mind greeting an artist I don't think is very good and saying that it's great. And I think that's something that really does stick with music critics. They're very pack driven, like film critics, which is there are set publications like Pitchfork and so on. And if they send up a flare saying something's great, all the others sort of fall in as though their taste was made for them. And that's the entirety of music critics. It's, there's nothing worth more, even a great musician, than a great critic in film or music, because they can see the diamond in the rough, and they can see the rough in the diamond. The cliche is that. God. And I think that this is, it's not worth bothering with. It's not an album of it's outtakes, but sometimes outtakes can, have some cohesive meaning about what they say about an artist. And hearing someone just going for a few minutes with some very minimalist backing, as though they're just sort of feeling their way through some melodic ideas, is not something, I don't think, that should have been released. And I think that music critics sort of don't really understand whether they should like it or not, look around at everyone else saying, should we like it? And they've given it huge acclaim for no reason, because there's nothing to it at all. So I'm going to give Arthur Russell's Picture of a Bunny Rabbit a 4 out of 10.